From the Crush Studio in sunny Florida, this is the Disney Crush Podcast. And now your two tempests in a teacup, Dave and Tony Ann.
Have you ever had an embarrassing moment at Disney? I know I have. I've seen them too. And we asked you to share your embarrassing moments at Disney this week on the Disney Crush Podcast, episode 377.
David!
Yes, ma'am.
How you doing?
I'm doing absolutely wonderful.
Okay. We had some listeners email us, but I've got a little bit of news first. So we know for sure now that Mama Melrose will be closing on May 10th, or actually the last day that it's serving food will be May 10th. So May 11th it's closed. And Muppet Vision 3D and Pizza Rizzo will have their last day of operations on June 7th. So if you want some pizza and some Mama Melrose and some Muppets, you got to get there. May 10th is the last day for Mama Melrose, and June 7th is the last day for Pizza Rizzo and Muppet Vision 3D.
Okay, how definite are you on those dates? Because you were wrong last week.
I've got it right here.
Okay, just checking. You were wrong last week.
I'm reading it. No, last week I know I was unsure, but nope, I got it.
You know, I don't think I've ever been to Mama Melrose.
You're not missing much.
Okay, good.
It's very Olive Garden level.
Okay, well, yeah, I don't think I've been. Speaking of mixing up stuff, I know you don't get upset, but when we talked about the 1-star review last week.
Will you get over that?
No, I am over it. Well, something I never do. We record the show, edit the show, and I never listen to the podcast after that. I just don't.
Right.
But for some, I had to listen. I wanted to listen to something because I thought I made a mistake for some reason, or I dreamed about it. So I listened to part of it today, and I'm like, oh, I made a mistake. So I want to correct, like you did last week. I'm going to correct myself. To join the I said you have to be 18 to join the military. No, you can join the military at 17 with a parent's consent.
Right.
So there. I want to clarify that.
So my son went to the Navy recruiter last week, and he's seriously considering joining the Navy. So we'll see what happens.
Interesting.
Dominic, not Michael. Michael's not going.
Oh, okay, good.
So we'll see what happens. But I've been playing a lot of Cat Stevens and crying this week.
Oh, yeah. Well, what I didn't realize, because doing some research for the last show, a lot of these, I don't know which branch of service it is, but a lot of them, some of them you can enlist up until like 44 or 45 years old. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway,
I'm too old. I'm too old anyway.
Yeah, me too. I think I just missed it, just barely.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a little bit of Facebook, but this is more of a housekeeping thing because it's, remember last week I talked about the lady whose husband held the contract for her annual pass?
Yes, we did speak of that.
Well, then just a few days later, another lady posted, and it's flipped. She's paying for the annual passes, including one for her ex-husband, and she wanted to know if she could get out of paying for her ex-husband's pass for the monthly payments, and the answer is the same. Nope. She's got a restraining order on this man, and she's got to pay for his annual pass to add insult to injury. But no. You can't get out of that contract. You got to pay it off to get it out of,
Yeah.
So that's a shame, but nope.
Yeah.
We talked about the contracts, and Michael and I, this is a benefit to having your passes not expire at the same time. Michael and I have two different, mine expires in, I want to say like March or April, and his expires in May. So we have two different contracts. So if me and Michael ever, have a fight, our contracts are separate. I'm only kidding.
Well, tell him not to call me because I'm not putting anybody else on mine.
I'm not putting anybody else on yours.
Nope. I'm at my limit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do you have some Facebook this week?
A little bit of Facebook.
A little bit of Facebook.
On this week's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly of Facebook. Bing! Ging! A little extra phlegm in there for you, Tony Ann.
But I didn't hear any pew.
Well, there was some in there in that phlegm.
Okay. Super long shot. We're going to Magic Kingdom today and wanted to do a baby announcement picture with our ultrasound in front of the castle. I have no idea how this happened, but somehow I forgot our ultrasound pictures. I know this is a weird request, but is there any chance that anyone else is here and can let me borrow their ultrasound just for the picture? They will be from far away, so it's more for the effect. I'm not sure if there's a way to print random ones online. She wants to do a castle picture with the baby, like a baby announcement.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty common, holding the ultrasound.
Mm-hmm.
But she forgot hers. So she's wondering if anybody else happens to have theirs on them. Like I carry mine in my purse all the time, right? So she could borrow it and use that person's ultrasound in her picture instead of her ultrasound.
That's so random. You know what? I bet if it gets out enough, there's probably someone out there that does have one.
That will carry them around.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
You know what you could do? You could go to the store, one of the stores, and buy a onesie, or I've seen people, they hold the little ears, the little, the little Mickey ears.
How about you just go on? How about just go on Google and Google the picture of ultrasound and hold that up?
Yeah,
you can do
on
that.
Your phone. Just hold your phone with.
Yeah. I mean, everything's on your phone anyway. I mean, hello. I mean, you can date on your phone. You can.
I'm surprised she doesn't have it on her phone, because I think nowadays they do. You can get it digitally.
Yeah, I would think. I mean, where's she going to carry it around? I don't know. This is weird. Anyway.
So this is a cautionary tale. My parents didn't want to go to Epcot today, so they went to Silver Glen Springs instead. They took an Uber, but now they've been trying for over an hour. This is like 8:00 at night. She posted this, trying to get an Uber or Lyft back without any luck. Any ideas or tips? We have tickets to Magic Kingdom tomorrow, so they are staying the night. So them staying the night there would really suck. Thank you in advance. So this person's family took an Uber to a spring, which I looked up. It was like, I want to say like 80 minutes away from Disney. They were able to get Ubers. Ubers were plentiful in the morning, I guess. But now I guess they stayed. They went to dinner. Now nobody over in Silver Glen Springs wants to drive them back to Orlando. I think Ubers are more plentiful in Orlando than they are in this, kind of rural area. Like I know Ubers we have Ubers in our town, but they're not as common as they are in Orlando. We can get one, in 3 minutes. So that's something to think about. If you're going to go do a day trip and you're going to take Uber, that you need to kind of plan for that, even arrange one in advance. So ultimately, she posted a little while later, what ultimately they had to do was they had to call an Uber to their hotel in Orlando and have that driver from Orlando go 70 minutes away and then drive back, because that person's from Orlando. So ultimately that's where they want to, wind up.
Ouch.
But the driver, and so that person will get paid for both trips. I guess the daughter, I don't know if the daughter got in the car and went and picked up the parents and came back, or if they just sent the driver. But the driver who lives 70 minutes away didn't want to drop off their fare in Orlando and then have to drive back to their town for free. So this way they wound up having to pay the driver both ways, but at least they were able to pick up their parents.
Yeah.
So just be mindful of that. If you're going to get an Uber to, go to the beach or go to Kennedy Space Center or something like that.
Yeah, something that's kind of out of the way. Because, those springs a lot of times are, they're
kind of raw.
Well, yeah, sometimes. They're close to towns, but that far away. Right.
Yeah. I think that's all I had. I did have one about a woman who went to Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. Her daughter's 6. They had an appointment. They were so excited about it. And the daughter got very overwhelmed. She said it's a little tiny room and everybody's kind of, it's loud. It's kind of cacophonous. And there's photographer walking around taking pictures and people, kids screeching. And she said her daughter, it was like almost had a meltdown in there. So
I could imagine. I bet there's a lot of meltdowns in that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There were too many people and too much going on in that small space for my daughter's comfort. The photographer was popping around the room, taking photos of all the kids, and belatedly realized that her unexpected appearances were adding to my daughter's distress. You can see in the picture that even in the big reveal didn't do much for her. So that's just something mindful. If you have a kid who gets overwhelmed like that, maybe consider doing the makeover in the room. You know, a friend of mine, Mandy's friend, Claire, she does, she has a company called Once Upon a Transformation. She is a former Disney cast member, and she does makeovers like that in the room. And they're so much cooler than the ones at Bibbidi Bobbidi too. Cause you know, the girls at Bibbidi Bobbidi Chic, they get that tight bun thing and they all look the same. Whereas Claire does, you know, personalized. She talks to you beforehand what your daughter wants, what character she wants. It doesn't necessarily have to be a common one off the rack. It could be something weird, and Claire will work with it. She'll run with it. If you want to be Cruella de Vil, she'll make it happen. I would want to be Cruella de Vil. That'd be kind of cool.
Well, maybe Claire could just scoop that little kid up and take an Uber and get out of there and go back to the hotel or something for a while. Leave the parents alone.
Yeah. So anyway, that's just my Facebook for the week, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for that.
I did have a piece of housekeeping. Remember a couple weeks ago I talked about the mess that was Epcot on New Year's Eve and
yeah, that was crazy.
Around England.
Yeah.
So our friend Karen Daves from the Mickey Fob podcast, she was listening and she messaged me to tell me that she was also there that night. And she said, I was in that UK disaster. The person who described the queue for the silent disco and the cast member, everything completely stopped. That is 100% accurate. There were a bunch of people who were drunk and who were peed off and who were freaking out and wanted to start fights. It's never happened like that before. It stopped at 7 p.m. to let everyone know the UK New Year had happened. I think this happened because of the silent queue was opening early and it was given the wrong direction. So it literally just stopped everything. And people with panic attacks may have been overwhelmed. She said some people may have overreacted, but it was incredibly stressful. The biggest part was just trying to keep things moving and having people not literally run over you. So it was definitely something that has not happened before that I've ever seen, but I'm sure it probably won't happen in the future. They will change the silent queue, you know, they've given feedback and Disney's aware that it was a mess.
Well, there you go.
Yep. I just want to, for the record, a few weeks ago, we were, for Michael's birthday, we were talking about our trip to Roundup Rodeo. And I said that Tori had gone, and I said, and some other friends had gone over the summer. And those other friends, well, one of them said, you know what, you could say my name.
Oh, we're going to get a big shout out here? Okay.
It was Glenn Kessler of the Glenn File podcast. Yes.
Okay. Well, why don't you just call him up and get him on the show? I mean, that's the better way. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
He's like, you know, I'm just some other friend. Yes, you are. Mm-hmm.
We got to get him before he gets too big of a writer, and we won't be able to take him in anymore.
No. If you're in the DC, Maryland area, he's having a big show this month.
Yes, I heard. That's cool. So, good for him. Congratulations.
Go see it. Goes 30 years of artwork. But he's not that old. Well,
no, he's a young kid. Yeah.
All right. All right, David, we had some listeners reach out to us. I guess you had posted a question. You had asked people to email us if they had any embarrassing stories.
Yeah, embarrassing stories. I think we've all, if you haven't personally experienced or had an embarrassing moment yourself, you've probably seen somebody and went, oh, ow, nah, yeah, that's not good. Yeah, we had a few come in.
Well, Rachel sent us one. She said once her and Amanda Bond were in the parks for a girls' weekend, and Amanda kept saying that Rachel needed more deodorant. It was not, in fact, me, but she insisted it was. Once we got to the cocktail hour with the ladies at Topolino's, she acted like she was giving herself a spritz of perfume to freshen up, but she was actually aiming it at me. I didn't realize she was trying to tame my smell against my will. She then noticed it was actually a gentleman in front of us in line earlier that smelled, not me. But yes, she was trying to take my odor into her own hands without me noticing. So Amanda thought Rachel was stinky and tried to spray her with perfume.
I smell like a barn animal.
Yeah, it can happen. I've in the summertime, I've thought about taking little things of deodorant around and handing them out to certain people in line.
It's pixie dust, Dave. It's pixie dust.
Well, that's a good pixie duster. Yeah.
Hang on, pixie dusting you here.
Gina Simpson, this one's crazy. Well, this one is easy. My most embarrassing and graceful moment at Walt Disney World is when I broke my arm walking from the Contemporary to the Magic Kingdom. I just tripped and fell. No uneven walkway or sidewalk, no drinking, just face planted on the sidewalk. And then had to exchange fireworks and dessert party for an ambulance ride to Celebration Hospital. Ow. Ow. Ooh.
Yeah.
Man, that was terrible. But you'll always have that memory.
You'll always have that part of you.
Yeah. Every time it starts to rain and you get that ache in your arm, you're like, yep, that was Disney.
That was Disney, yep. So Mr. Dan Austin of the Austin Family Adventures sent us many of Austin Family Adventures at Disney, embarrassing Austin adventures. And here, I guess I'll just start with the first one.
Well, he's got 12 kids or something like that.
It was a beautiful day in Hollywood Studios. My family and I are in line for Frozen Sing-Along. As we waited in line, I looked down. To my horror, my daughter has the chain from the line in her mouth. After I quickly reprimand her to get that nasty chain out of her mouth, we went on with our day. After the show and a few more hours in the park, we are in line for the Little Mermaid show, and my lovely daughter proceeds to unload right in front of the entrance doors and on my arms and my legs. The people that stepped in it because they didn't want to walk around us was probably the grossest part. I set the kids and my wife into the show, and I took my daughter to get cleaned up. Hardcore park goers we assumed she might puke and rally, but she fell asleep in the stroller. Since she was asleep, no reason to skip out on our ADR at Cape May Cafe. All was good until halfway through the meal when she wakes up and in the restaurant as well.
Oh,
and the stroller and in the stroller and the restaurant as well. So she barfed in the queue for Little Mermaid show, which is reopening this summer at Hollywood Studios. And people they didn't want to go around them. So they actually people walked through it.
Oh, yeah. They probably didn't even know. Yeah.
And then the kid fell asleep and they thought she was okay. She fell asleep in the stroller. And so they went to dinner and she threw up in the stroller and in the restaurant.
Yeah. He's got more stories. Here's another story.
Oh yeah. He's got more.
We were so excited to try Steakhouse 71 after a long day at the parks. One of our sons barely eats his food, but chugs his chocolate milk and promptly falls asleep on the bench. After dinner, I move him into the stroller and lay back his seat and strap him in. Oh, Dad, what a great dad. As I start to move the stroller out of the restaurant, I hear him cough and moan, and then I see a fountain of throw up fly forward out of the stroller. I rush out of the restaurant into the lobby bathroom. At this point, the boy is covered in throw up, strapped in the stroller, and we are now crammed in a bathroom, not meant for a double stroller. It was such a mess, an embarrassing moment.
That's terrible. Poor kid.
Oh man, poor kid. Yeah.
Oh my God. All these stories about vomit.
They are.
Yeah. There's a pattern here. Story 3, back in Hollywood Studios on a different trip. They were at Hollywood and Vine, and one of the boys had to go to the bathroom. But when they got back, my wife was covered in throw up as our daughter had proceeded to reject her dinner. The cast members were very accommodating and got my wife a new shirt and my daughter a Tinkerbell plush. So Abby was just trying to get a new toy.
That's what I'm thinking. Very cool.
Or maybe Holly just wanted a new shirt. And what Dan didn't see while he was in the bathroom was Holly holding Abby upside down.
Yeah.
Because Holly really wanted a new shirt.
Oh, he's got another story, Tony Ann. What do you think this one's about?
And I see some green faces.
I see some green faces.
some green face emojis.
This trip, 3 out of our 4 kids ended up getting sick. Our oldest and my wife were taking advantage of extra hours at Magic Kingdom when our oldest had to make an emergency trip to the restroom and got sick. We chalked it up as too much Disney and sugary treats. That same night, we were woken up at night in our studio room with 6 people to the sound of one of our other kids getting sick. Unfortunately, they only found the floor and not a trash can, and the rooms had carpet.
Ooh.
After a long, disgusting cleanup, we went back to bed with that horrible smell of throw up. In the morning, my wife tells me she is staying back in the room with the kids who were sick and the baby also. I was instructed to take our daughter and have a daddy-daughter day at Epcot. We pull in, get in the stroller, and seriously take 10 steps, and she starts throwing up. all over herself and in the stroller. I take her back to the car to clean her up, and I have nothing because it's a rental to clean her up with. Mind you, it's a colder day, but I had to get her out of those clothes and in the car. Once she was out of the car, I had to clean up the stroller, theme here, but I only had tissue paper from a mug I purchased earlier in the trip. After doing the best I could and having all the Epcot guests walk by me in the parking lot, cleaning throw up out of the stroller, we retreated back to the hotel. While we were gone, housekeeping stopped by the room and tried to vacuum the area where they got sick. Now, we already took care as much as we could, but the vacuum just created a foul throw-up smell and didn't help anything. Finally, a few hours later, a housekeeper with a carpet cleaner arrived.
I'm so glad they're getting rid of those. I don't know if there's any more carpet left, but
yeah, carpets are bad.
They're working on it, but I think there's still carpet left at some of them. Yeah, that's why carpet's so gross. You think about all that stuff that could happen on a carpet, and
yeah, if anybody's done any housework and you decide to change carpet and put tile in, you pull that carpet up and you're like, oh, yeah. You can shampoo,
clean it the best you can. Vacuum it every, Yeah,
it does. Yeah, there's still stuff, and the dirt just goes to the bottom, and and the pad gets all.
And don't even think about using a black light in there.
No. Well, I don't know. Out of this 4 story, I know he doesn't have any more stories.
No, he's got.
Oh, he's got more.
Actually, more. He's got more. Yeah. I hope this one doesn't involve anybody getting sick.
I don't see any. I don't see any green faces on this one.
Okay. The trip of cold meals. One of our children had just learned to be potty trained, but was not comfortable using the restroom away from home. During the trip, it never failed at dinner time. They would double over in pain because they refused to go number 2. I would have to leave with them and go to the bathroom right as our food would come to the table so they could use the restroom. While in the restroom, the child refused to go to the bathroom. So I'd have to plead and bribe and yell at the child until they finally took care of business. Then I would return to my cold $30 entree. I actually had Dominic was like this. It wasn't about, I actually thought he had some kind of problem because he would want to go 15 times. I remember that we were at Chefs de France one time having dinner, and he had to go pee like every 2 minutes, and it was ridiculous. And later went on to tell me that he just liked going in the bathroom.
He was playing you big time.
But yeah, I get that one, Dan, the trip of cold meals. And Dave will know that, when Michael goes to the bathroom, sometimes Michael takes forever. I'm like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, what happens, he starts singing too. He'll get in there and start singing. Yeah.
Can you blame him?
No, it's like the acoustics in the bathrooms are great. I'm like, you sing it, boy. I just like people coming in and out, and I'm like, sing it, Mike. True story. He's got another one. And unfortunately,
this one has green faces.
It has some green faces in it, but this is the last one, I think. So, $38 pretzel roll bite at Beer Garden. My son, just old enough to be a Disney child, proceeds to pick every item off the buffet and has a full plate of food after a long trip to the buffet. As the rest of us settle in, he tries to eat his whole pretzel roll in one bite, which triggers, the gag reflex. And kid gets sick all over the table. After we get everything cleaned up, we try to go back to eating dinner, but Pretzel Boy won't take another bite. So many gross and embarrassing stories, maybe too gross for the podcast. Oh, no,
Nah,
Dan.
This is the Disney Crush show.
No.
We don't mind. We're good.
No.
We're good. There was something else Dominic did. I'll never forget. We were in, I've told the story before maybe. We were in 50's Primetime Cafe, which, if you don't know, it shares a bathroom with Hollywood and Vine. Hollywood and Vine, if you don't know, is a buffet. 50's Primetime is not a buffet. So we were at 50's Primetime Cafe, and he's like 10 or 11, and he gets up and goes to the bathroom. He's like, Mom, I go to the bathroom. Okay, it's over there. He comes back to the table, and he's got a pretzel roll in his hand. And I'm like, where did you get that from? He's like, oh, I got it from the buffet. He had gone into Hollywood and Vine, grabbed a pretzel roll off the buffet, and then came back to the table in 50's Primetime Cafe.
Well, good for him. I'd be like, son, go back and get me another one, would you? Get another one. Get me one of them things. They'll look pretty good.
Yep.
Well,
yeah, Dave, that was a, those Austins.
yeah, I don't know. I really haven't thought about this one for I'm sure I've had some embarrassing moments, but I remember one time we were in line at Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, and we got to talking with a couple behind us, and they had maybe a year and a half year old, maybe 2-year-old. The dad was holding it, and it was so, he was so just calm, and we've been talking, because those lines, you're in line for 30 minutes. So we've been talking for a good 20, 30 minutes. Great couple, really nice couple. And then he just goes, yeah, she just peed all over me.
Oh.
And I guess that she was at the age where she didn't have a diaper on. And his whole shirt was nothing but just drenched. And we're like, oh, don't worry about it. He goes, I'm so embarrassed. I'm like, are you kidding me? Don't worry about it, dude. It happens. Yeah, things happen.
I told you about when I turned 40. Did I tell you about when I turned 40? And I went on a solo trip. I went solo for like 3 or 4 days, and then the family met me on the weekend. They came out for the weekend. And so I arrived, I was solo, and I had a birthday button on, and I was in Chefs de France again. And I'm sitting there by myself, and all of a sudden I see like 13 French male servers coming towards me to sing happy birthday to me as I sat there alone at the table.
How embarrassing.
That was kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
It really was. And the other thing that came from that trip was I get the brilliant idea that I'm going to go to Ohana by myself. And I sat there, and think about how much food you get at Ohana. So I'm sitting at this table by myself, and they just keep bringing the platters. And I look like such a glutton.
Oh my gosh. By yourself? You couldn't have rounded up some. And
they didn't bring they didn't bring the platters the size they brought when, we went with 8 people, but the platters were not, they were still maybe for a family of 4.
Mm-hmm. You couldn't have pixie dusted food. You couldn't have pixie dusted somebody and just said, hey, come sit down. Take it. Nobody? No. Okay.
I was solo. I wanted to be solo.
Okay. Well, that's not embarrassing. I'd love that. I'm like, yeah, come on, bring it. Bring it on. Give me some more.
I was embarrassed.
This was so embarrassing. I felt so bad. We were going to Remy, and you know how you go in and they have those like almost like a ticket booth right there.
Theater. It looks like.
Right. So we're waiting in line, and I'm taking pictures because that's what I do. I take a lot of pictures when I'm in Disney, and I'm taking pictures. And there was a sign up on the wall, and so it was kind of behind it, and it was kind of dark in there. So I kind of had to walk around a little bit, and I'm looking up and I'm taking pictures of it. And then I look down, and there's a mother on the ground breastfeeding a baby. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
So you look like a creeper taking pictures.
Because I was there I'm just snapping away. And she just looked at me like, you creep. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I didn't see you. I'm sorry. And I slithered away. I think that was probably my most embarrassing moment. So if you're out there, I'm so sorry. Yeah. Do you want me to send you the pictures? They're pretty cool.
No, I don't want to see the pictures of the breastfeeding mother.
Okay.
No.
Just asking.
Hey. I think that's all I got, Dave.
All right, Tony Ann. Well, that was fun. Dan, thank you so much for the.
Thank you, Dan, for the stories of the sick Austins this week.
Yeah. Hey, he made the show. Half the show was his kids throwing up. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Thank your kids too. And I got some great advice for you, Dan. You guys need to get a nanny.
Yeah, come solo. Come on,
Go
come
solo.
on a couples trip.
Yeah, just go.
I've been dying to get Holly here without her kids.
Yeah. It's a whole different experience. No, it's not. She needs to experience Disney. Finally experience Disney with no throw up, no nothing. Just none of that. I'll watch the kids.
them.
I told them I'd watch the kids if they want to go.
I know you did.
Uncle
You said you'd
Dave,
watch the
I'll
kids.
watch the kids. We'll have a good time. I'm telling you. They'll have fun. Yeah. The only problem is they'll have so much fun, they won't ever want to go back with their parents. They'll be like, we want to go with Uncle Dave.
Uncle Dave.
All right, Tony Ann.
Yep.
That's going to do it. What do you think? You got anything else?
I think so.
All right. So until next week, see you later.
Bye.
I think that's it. All right.
The key truth has spoken.
Put a check on that. Can you do that, Dave? Can you put a check on that one?